Commander James Walker floated in the observation module of the International Space Station, his eyes fixed on the beautiful blue marble below. 20 years of military service hadn't prepared him for the peace he felt up here. Earth looked so peaceful from space, with no signs of the conflicts and troubles that plagued its surface. The first sign that something was wrong came as a series of bright flashes near the edge of the planet. At first, he thought they were lightning storms, but lightning didn't move in perfect formation. His heart stopped when he realized what he was seeing. Command, this is ISS. We have multiple unknown objects entering atmosphere. I count at least 50. No, hundreds of them. His voice remained steady despite the fear growing in his chest. The radio crackled. ISS, we're tracking them. All global defense systems are going dark. The transmission cut off. Walker watched in horror as the objects, sleek, dark ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, descended toward major cities across the globe. The first beam of energy struck New York, turning the entire city into a sea of fire in seconds. More beams followed, striking cities across every continent. In the underground research facility beneath Denver, Dr. Emma Roberts was running final checks on her quantum computing project. When the first tremors hit, the facility's lights flickered, then switched to emergency power. Red warning lights flooded the corridors. All personnel, proceed to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Emma grabbed her research tablet and ran for the central command room. The facility had been built to withstand nuclear war, but the explosions above felt different, more powerful, more alien. Director Tom Miller met her at the command center entrance, his face pale. They came out of nowhere. No warnings, no demands. They're hitting everything. Military bases, cities, power plants. Screens showed footage from around the world. The alien ships, because that's what they had to be, moved with impossible grace. Earth's most advanced fighters exploded harmlessly against their shields. Tanks and ground forces might as well have been throwing rocks. The bunker network is our only chance now, Tom said, typing commands into the main console. We're receiving reports from other facilities. Anyone who can is going underground. Emma watched the death toll counter climbing on one screen. 1 billion, 2 billion, numbers too large to comprehend. Her family had been in Boston. She forced the thought away, focusing instead on the data streaming in. Something caught her eye in the readings from the surface sensors. Wait, she said, pointing to a particular frequency pattern. Look at this. When our weapons hit their shields, there's a resonance pattern. Tom leaned in closer. Some kind of energy fluctuation. More than that. Their shields seemed to vibrate at a specific frequency. If we could match it, maybe amplify it. The facility shook again as another blast hit somewhere above. Dust fell from the ceiling. More survivors were arriving through the emergency tunnels, many injured, all with the same shocked look in their eyes. Commander Walker, watching from orbit, saw the waves of destruction sweep across continents. But he also saw something else, something that gave him hope. Some of the alien ships were damaged. Not many, but enough to prove they weren't invincible. Humanity had scored a few hits before their defenses fell. They can bleed, he whispered to himself. And if they can bleed, we can kill them. The ISS's orbit would take it out of view soon. Walker made his way to the emergency escape pod. He had to survive. Had to get back to Earth. Had to fight. As the pod detached, carrying him down toward the burning planet, he made a promise. Humanity would survive. They would rebuild. And one day, they would make these invaders pay for every life they had taken. The day of the fall, as it would later be known, marked the end of one era of human history, but it also marked the beginning of another, the era when humanity learned just how strong they could be when pushed to the edge of extinction. And in an underground lab, Dr. Emma Roberts stared at the resonance patterns on her screen, the first seeds of humanity's revenge already taking root in her mind. 3 months after the fall, The Denver bunker complex had transformed from a research facility into a small underground city. The constant hum of recycled air and emergency generators had become as familiar to its inhabitants as birdsong had once been on the surface. Tom Miller stood in what used to be a storage room, now converted into a makeshift laboratory. Before him lay the twisted remains of a Dominion weapon, salvaged by one of their scavenging teams at great cost. 5 good people had died bringing this piece of alien technology back. The power source is unlike anything we've seen, he said, pointing to a glowing crystal at the weapon's core. It's not just advanced, it's operating on principles we barely understand. Emma Roberts nodded, making notes on her tablet. Dark circles under her eyes showed how little she'd slept lately. The energy signature matches what we detected during the initial invasion. But look at this. She adjusted a dial on their testing equipment. A high-pitched whine filled the room. The crystal's glow flickered, and for a moment, the alien metal around it seemed to vibrate. That's the resonance frequency I found, Emma said, excitement creeping into her voice. Their technology, their shields, everything they build seems sensitive to specific sound frequencies. The door opened, and Commander Walker limped in. His escape pod had crashed in the Rockies during the invasion, and his left leg had never fully healed. But his eyes were as sharp as ever. "Show me," he said. Tom typed commands into the computer, bringing up a 3D model of their tests. "We've been running experiments on every piece of alien tech we can find. They all react the same way to certain sound frequencies. It's like hitting the right note on a wine glass until it shatters. Can we weaponize it?" Emma stepped forward. "We're working on it, but we need more data, more samples, and we need to test it against their shields at full power." Walker's face hardened. "That means going to the surface, fighting them directly." "Yes, but we're not ready yet. The last team that tried." Emma trailed off, remembering the video footage of their failed assault. A distant rumble made them all look up. The Dominion still hunted for surviving humans, their ships regularly scanning the surface. But the bunker's shielding, enhanced with their growing understanding of alien technology, kept them hidden. "We're getting reports from other bunker networks," Walker said, pulling up a secure communication screen. "Sydney, Moscow, Cape Town. They're all working on similar discoveries. Dr. Roberts, your resonance theory is spreading." Tom walked to a large map on the wall, showing known survivor outposts in green and Dominion strongholds in red. "We're not alone. Humanity is scattered, but we're adapting, learning. Every piece of their technology we study makes us stronger." Emma adjusted the frequency again, higher this time. The alien crystal shrieked, then cracked. Tiny, but visible. The first real damage they'd managed to inflict on Dominion technology. "We'll call it Project Banshee," she said quietly. In Irish mythology, the Banshee's scream was an omen of death. This will be their death knell. Walker smiled grimly. "How long until we can test a prototype?" "A month, maybe 2. We need to be careful. If they detect our tests." "They won't," Tom interrupted. "The surface teams brought back some of their sensor technology. We can mask our experiments." Outside the lab, the bunker buzzed with activity. Hydroponic gardens provided food. Children attended makeshift schools. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock. Humanity refused to die. And in a sealed chamber deep underground, the first notes of Earth's counterattack were taking shape, building toward a symphony that would shake the Dominion to its core. The captured Dominion soldier lay trapped behind a sonic containment field, its metallic skin reflecting the harsh underground lights. Tom Miller watched through reinforced glass as Emma Roberts adjusted the field's frequency, keeping their prisoner securely contained. "Why Earth?" Emma asked again, her voice firm. "Of all the planets, why here?" The alien's translator crackled. "You primitives wouldn't understand. The core, the energy. We need it." Its voice sounded like grinding metal, even through the translation system. Commander Walker stepped closer to the glass. "Our planet's core. That's what you're after. The prisoner's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Your world is rich, powerful. The energy sustains us, feeds us. Without it, we die. Tom's fingers flew across his tablet, correlating this new information with their previous data. The pieces started falling into place. The drilling sites, he said. Those aren't just military bases. They're mining operations. Emma pulled up a global map showing Dominion activity. Every major alien stronghold sat above areas of high geothermal activity. They're not just invading. They're harvesting Earth's core energy. The alien made a sound like breaking glass, perhaps laughter. Many worlds before yours. Many worlds after. All feed the Dominion. All serve our survival. Walker's face darkened. How many other worlds? How many other species have you destroyed? Countless. Some fight. Some hide. All fall. The Dominion must survive. A warning light flashed on Emma's console. The prisoner's vital signs were spiking. Before anyone could react, its metallic skin began to crack, releasing a foul-smelling gas. It's self-destructing. Tom shouted. Seal the chamber. The alien's body collapsed into a puddle of liquid metal, its last words hanging in the air. The harvest cannot be stopped. Later, in the command center, the team reviewed what they'd learned. Emma pointed to new sensor readings from their surface probes. The drilling operations go deeper than we thought. They're building something massive under each site. Energy extractors, Tom explained, showing a 3D model based on stolen Dominion data. They're literally drinking our planet's energy. At this rate, he paused, double-checking his calculations. We have maybe 6 months before they cause irreversible damage to Earth's core. Walker studied the map of drilling sites. Then we found their weakness. They need this energy to survive. That's why they fight so hard to protect the drilling operations. Emma brought up the latest test results from Project Banshee. The sonic weapons are ready for full-scale testing. And look at this. She highlighted a particular frequency pattern. The same resonance that disrupts their shields appears in their drilling equipment. One shot could destabilize an entire harvesting operation, Tom added. But we'd have to get close. Really close. Walker smiled grimly. For the first time, we have a real target. A way to hurt them where it counts. He turned to the communications console, broadcasting to all resistance bunkers. This is Commander Walker. We've confirmed the enemy's objective and identified a critical vulnerability. Operation Banshee is now active. All units prepare for surface deployment. Through the vast underground network, humanity's survivors began to move with new purpose. Weapons were distributed. Strike teams assembled. The scattered remnants of Earth's military forces coordinated their plans. In her lab, Emma made final adjustments to the sonic rifles. Each one was tuned to the exact frequency that would shatter Dominion technology. We're nearly ready, she told Tom. The next time we face them, we won't be helpless. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, the Dominion's massive machines continued their harvest, unaware that their prisoners had discovered the truth. Unaware that humanity now knew their greatest weakness. The hunters were about to become the hunted. The coastal city of Portland lay in ruins, its streets empty except for Dominion patrol units. But beneath the broken buildings, humans waited. Strike teams from 3 different bunker networks had gathered for humanity's first major offensive. Commander Walker crouched behind a fallen wall, watching a Dominion harvester moving through the morning mist. The massive machine dwarfed the surrounding buildings, its drills piercing deep into the earth. 20 strike team members waited nearby, each carrying one of Emma's sonic rifles. Remember, Walker whispered into his radio, we only get one shot at this. The moment we fire, every Dominion unit in the area will come running. Team 2 in position, came Tom's voice through the radio. He led another group on the opposite side of the harvester. Shield disruptors ready. Emma's voice crackled next. Monitoring from base. The harvester's energy readings are at peak levels. Hit it now. and the feedback should cascade through their entire local network. Walker raised his hand, then dropped it. Fire. 20 sonic rifles activated at once. The air itself seemed to vibrate as waves of focused sound struck the harvester. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the machine's shields flickered and failed. The harvester's metal skin began to crack, energy leaking from its seams. Dominion soldiers rushed to protect it, but their own shields failed under the sonic assault. They fell, their bodies crumbling like the alien prisoner had. Second wave, move in, Walker ordered. More resistance fighters emerged from hiding, carrying conventional weapons modified with Tom's reverse-engineered alien technology. They fired on the unshielded Dominion forces, each shot finding its mark. The harvester gave one final shriek of tortured metal, then collapsed. The ground shook as it fell, its drilling components shattering as they hit the ground. Status report, Walker called. Minimal casualties on our side, Tom reported. The sonic weapons worked better than we hoped. Their shields didn't stand a chance. Emma's excited voice came through. The energy readings, the entire Dominion network in Portland is destabilizing. Their systems are linked. When one falls, it weakens the others. Walker watched as alien ships rushed toward their position, then suddenly veered away, their engines sputtering. Without the harvester's energy feed, their power was failing. All teams, push forward, he ordered. Take the city while they're weak. The battle for Portland raged for hours, but for the first time since the invasion, humanity had the upper hand. By sunset, the resistance controlled half the city. Dominion forces retreated, unable to maintain their technology without the harvester's energy supply. Back in the Denver bunker, Emma studied the data from the battle. Every Dominion system depends on the energy they steal, she explained to the gathered leaders. Cut off the supply, and their weapons, shields, even their bodies start to fail. Tom pointed to a map showing other harvesting sites. We can replicate this victory. The Sydney bunker has already started mass-producing sonic weapons. Moscow reports their first successful test of the shield disruptors. What about the Dominion's response? Someone asked. Walker stepped forward. Our listening posts picked up their communications. They're calling for reinforcements, but the nearest fleet is months away. We have a window of opportunity. Emma brought up an image of the largest harvesting operation, located in the old heart of New York City. This is their main facility. Taking it out would cripple their entire Earth operation. Then that's our next target, Walker said. But this time, we're not just taking one city. We're taking back our planet. Around the world, other resistance bunkers received news of the Portland victory. Hope spread like wildfire through the underground networks. Humanity had won its first real battle against the invaders. The war for Earth was far from over, but now they knew victory was possible. 3 simultaneous explosions lit up the night sky over what used to be Chicago. Walker watched from his forward command post as Dominion defense towers crumbled. The global assault had begun. Moscow team has breached their sector, Tom's voice reported through the command network. Sydney forces pushing through the southern defense line. London team is engaging heavy resistance but holding. Emma's voice cut in. The orbital defense network is showing signs of strain. Keep pushing. Their power grid is failing. Humanity had launched its biggest offensive yet, a coordinated attack on every major Dominion stronghold on Earth. Months of preparation, gathering weapons, and training had led to this moment. Walker gave the signal. All units, advance. Don't let them regroup. Strike teams surged forward, sonic weapons blazing. The air rippled with invisible waves of sound that shattered Dominion shields and armor. But something was different this time. Some of the alien soldiers weren't fighting back. Commander, a scout called out. You need to see this. In a fallen Dominion structure, Walker found something unexpected. Cells, hundreds of them. And inside, aliens, but not Dominion soldiers. These creatures were different, some with scales, others with fur, all showing signs of imprisonment and forced labor. One of them, a tall being with iridescent skin, spoke through a translator. The other said humans would come, that you found a way to fight them. Who are you? Walker asked. Slaves, like so many others. The Dominion doesn't just take worlds. They take people. Use them. Force them to help build their machines. Emma's voice crackled through the radio. Commander, are you seeing this? Our sensors are picking up dozens of different biological signatures in similar facilities around the world. They're not just an invasion force, Tom added. They're an empire. These must be species from other worlds they've conquered. The iridescent alien stood straighter. We can help you fight them. Many of us know their technology, their weaknesses. We've waited for a chance like this. Walker made a quick decision. Emma, Tom, broadcast on all resistance frequencies. Tell our forces to watch for prisoners. These aren't enemies. They're potential allies. As the battle raged on, more and more enslaved aliens joined the human forces. They brought with them knowledge of Dominion systems, access codes, and tactical information that proved invaluable. In the skies above, the orbital defense network began to fail. Massive Dominion platforms fell from orbit, burning up in the atmosphere or crashing into the wastelands below. Energy readings are dropping worldwide, Emma reported. Their harvesting operations are down to 30% capacity. 20. 10. The Dominion forces began to retreat, pulling back to their last strongholds. But without the energy from their harvesting operations, their advanced technology was failing. Ships fell from the sky. Weapons stopped working. Shields flickered and died. They're not just retreating, Tom observed, watching the tactical display. They're running. The iridescent alien, who called himself a guardian, explained. Without the core energy, they cannot maintain their forms. Their bodies will begin to break down. This is why they harvest worlds. They need the energy to survive. Walker looked at the battlefield map. Red dots representing Dominion forces were disappearing rapidly. Green dots of resistance forces pushed forward everywhere. And new yellow dots showed freed alien allies joining the fight. Send word to all commands, Walker ordered. Push them back. Take back every city, every base, every inch of our world. The tide had turned. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for victory. And they weren't fighting alone. As the sun rose over the battlefields of Earth, the Dominion's grip on the planet was crumbling. The day of reckoning had arrived, and humanity was leading the charge. The warning came from one of the restored orbital satellites. A massive fleet of Dominion ships had just appeared at the edge of the solar system, 3 months earlier than expected. Humanity's victory celebration turned into frantic preparation for the coming storm. In the Denver Command Center, now serving as Earth's primary defense headquarters, Walker studied the tactical display with their alien allies. The Guardian's iridescent skin pulsed with worried colors. Those are world breakers, the Guardian said, pointing to the largest ships. Planet-killing weapons. They'll destroy Earth rather than admit defeat. Emma burst into the room, her tablet displaying new data. The reinforcement fleet is different from our previous encounters. Their ships are wrapped in some kind of sonic-resistant coating. Our current weapons might not work. How long until they reach Earth? Walker asked. Tom checked the calculations. 6 hours, maybe 7. They're moving faster than anything we've seen before. Then we execute Operation Thunderstrike now, Walker decided. We're not losing our world. Not when we've come this far. The plan was desperate, but it was all they had. Around the globe, resistance forces and their alien allies moved into position. The freed slaves had helped modify human weapons with their advanced knowledge, creating hybrid technology that combined the best of multiple species. Emma worked frantically in her lab, pushing the Banshee weapon's power to new limits. If we can't penetrate their new shields directly, we'll have to overload them. Hit them with everything at once. The first wave of Dominion ships entered Earth's atmosphere 4 hours later. Their weapons were devastating. turning the recently liberated ruins of Paris into molten glass with a single shot. All units, commence Operation Thunderstrike. Walker's voice boomed through the global command network. This is humanity's last stand. Modified satellites, hastily positioned using captured Dominion technology, fired concentrated beams of energy at the invasion fleet. Ground-based sonic cannons, powered by the very core energy the Dominion had tried to steal, sent waves of destructive sound into the sky. The Guardian led a squadron of stolen Dominion fighters, now piloted by both humans and freed aliens. They darted between the massive enemy ships, looking for weak points in the new armor. Their coding isn't perfect, the Guardian reported. There are gaps at the energy output ports. Hit them there. Tom coordinated the ground defense from a bunker in the Rocky Mountains. Concentrated fire on their emission points. Don't let them establish a harvesting base. A world breaker ship moved into position above North America, its main weapon powering up for a killing blow. But Emma had been ready for this moment. Activating the resonance chain, she shouted into the command net. All sonic weapons, switch to frequency pattern Delta. Fire on my mark. Every sonic weapon on Earth, from handheld rifles to massive cannons, shifted to the same frequency. When they fired together, the sound waves amplified each other, creating a devastating wall of energy that slammed into the Dominion fleet. The World Breaker's shields held for 3 seconds before failing catastrophically. The massive ship tried to retreat, but its systems were already breaking down. It crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, creating tidal waves that crashed against already ruined coastlines. But more ships were coming. The sky was dark with them, each one capable of destroying a city. Humanity had bloodied the Dominion's nose, but the real fight was just beginning. Hold the line, Walker ordered as another world breaker moved into position. We didn't come this far to fail now. For Earth. The response came from millions of voices, human and alien alike. For Earth. The greatest battle in human history had begun, and this time, they were ready for it. The battle had raged for 3 days. The skies above Earth were filled with burning ships and debris from both sides. Commander Walker stood in the ruins of what had once been the Dominion's main harvesting facility in New York, preparing for humanity's final push. Their command ship is still in orbit. Emma's voice crackled through the radio. As long as it maintains their energy network, the world breakers can keep fighting. Tom's voice followed. We've lost contact with Sydney and Moscow. London reports heavy damage, but they're still in the fight. Our sonic weapons are working, but we're running out of power. Walker looked at the Guardian, who now commanded the combined alien resistance forces. Is your team ready? The Guardian's skin flickered with determined colors. The shuttle is modified with your sonic technology. If we can get aboard their command ship, then let's end this, Walker said. All forces, commence Operation Freedom's Dawn. The assault began with a massive sonic barrage from every remaining weapon on Earth. The sky itself seemed to vibrate as waves of sound energy crashed against Dominion shields. Under this cover, Walker and a mixed team of humans and freed aliens boarded the modified shuttle. Remember, Emma's voice came through their headsets. The command ship's core will be heavily shielded. But if you can plant the resonators in these key points, a diagram flashed on their tactical displays. The feedback should cascade through their entire fleet. The shuttle shot through the chaos of battle, dodging debris and enemy fire. The Guardian's skilled piloting got them through a gap in the command ship's weakened shields. They crashed more than landed in a docking bay. Breach teams, move out, Walker ordered. We've got 10 minutes before they can lock down the ship. The team split into 3 groups, fighting their way through corridors filled with desperate Dominion soldiers. The aliens' new sonic-resistant armor made them harder to kill, but not impossible. The hybrid weapons Tom had designed proved their worth, combining sonic pulses with conventional firepower. In the Denver bunker, Emma watched the tactical display as the teams approached their targets. First resonator placed, second team in position. The Dominion commanders finally realized what was happening. The command ship's internal defenses activated, filling corridors with deadly energy fields. But the freed slaves knew the ship's layout, guiding the human forces through maintenance tunnels and secret passages. Final team, approaching the core, Walker reported. His group had suffered casualties, but they'd reached the massive chamber housing the ship's power center. Beginning final sequence. The Guardian interfaced with the ship's systems, while Walker's team held off waves of Dominion defenders. Energy core exposed. Planting final resonator. Emma's voice was tense. All resonators in position. Activating in 3, 2, 1. The devices activated simultaneously, creating a feedback loop that amplified through the ship's own power network. The sound was beyond hearing, but everyone felt it in their bones. The command ship's core began to fracture. All teams, get out now, Walker ordered. They fought their way back to the shuttle as the ship began to break apart around them. On Earth, millions watched as the massive command ship exploded in a silent flash that lit up the night sky. The energy wave rippled through the Dominion fleet, overloading their connected systems. World breakers fell from orbit, their crews unable to maintain control without the command ship's power network. The remaining Dominion forces, cut off from their core energy supply, began to retreat. Their once mighty empire had been broken by the very species they had tried to harvest. Hours later, Walker stood with Emma and Tom in the Denver Command Center, watching the last enemy ships flee the solar system. They'll be back, the Guardian warned. Perhaps not for generations, but the Dominion never truly gives up. Then we'll be ready, Walker replied. Earth isn't alone anymore. And next time, we'll take the fight to them. As the sun rose on a free Earth, humanity looked to the stars with new purpose. They had faced extinction and survived. They had made allies among the stars, and they had learned that together, nothing was impossible. The day of reckoning had passed. The day of humanity's dawn had begun.